Yes, sir.
Great. So, first thing, I hope you all gone through the demo, maybe, right?
Yes.
Yes. Okay. So, the course is all about data engineering, right? So, we discussed what is data engineering and what is the role of a data engineer, right? So, coming to the tools that we use in this data engineering, right? So, we discussed whatever the tools that we're going to use. So Linux is one of them where we use this to manage the file systems. So you might know most of you. So what is Linux and why we use it? Am I correct? Do you know what is Linux? Unmute yourself and be interactive, right? If I ask any question, unmute and answer it. Or if you don't know, say no. That is fine. But if you keep silent, right? So it would be very hard for me to continue. I don't know whether you're listening or sleeping, right? Be active. Come on. What is Linux? What is Windows otherwise? Maybe you must be joined from
So,
your laptop or desktop, right? We'll be using Windows. What is Windows?
well, it is a software. Linux is compared to the Unix, and I mean,
Right.
it is a other form of Windows. Linux, it's other software. The overview of Linux is different
Hmm.
when compared to the Windows. A little bit complex, yeah, little bit complex in Linux.
Why you feel that is little complex than Windows?
Uh,
Any?
Windows is really we can see that what are the options we can find. Well, we are using the Windows in everywhere, so that's why
Hmm.
I may find easy. But when compared to the Linux, it was totally different from Windows, right? That's the reason.
Okay.
Maybe we'll feel little complex. Well, compared to the Android and iPhone like that, if we are new to the iPhone means it was difficult to maintain or use. That's the reason.
That is some up to some extent that is correct. Okay. So coming back to this topic, right? So first thing first, Linux is an operating system. Windows is an operating system. And Apple Macintosh, right? It's also an operating system. These are different operating system flavors in the market currently. But why are we talking about Linux specifically? Because we have Mac, Windows, and this is Linux. And just now you told that Windows is very easy to use because of the UI that provides, right? But when it comes to corporates, when they are maintaining their data centers, right? So they rely on the servers which are made upon Linux or Unix. What is the reason and why do we use this Linux? So,
Uh, compared to the Windows, it was very difficult to transfer the data. I mean, whole data whenever big data, transfer time takes more. But coming to the Linux and Unix, it may take a 1 to 2 seconds. Well, huge form of data also we can transfer within a 1 or 2 seconds. When compared to the Windows, it may take 2 hours of time.
that is actually people assumption, but it's not correct. See, even though you use them as a data center, right? We use commodity software or commodity hardware basically when building the data center. So commodity hardware, nothing but it's a similar to the desktop that we use. So it's not that different. Okay, but
Okay.
I'll explain you everything. Okay, but see, people will feel like yeah, Linux is fast or something like that, but it's not that case. Okay, it also has the same limitations that we use as our desktop computers. But I am talking about this Linux. This is an operating system, right? So the data transfers and everything that depends on the hardware as well, not only on the software, because the hardware components has to be in line with the capacity, the feature that have in the underlying hardware, right? Maybe I'll tell you an example. If you use HDD and if you use SSD, right, there is a huge difference. The amount of transfers that we do. Am I right? So that way. So so first thing, so Linux is an operating system. Okay. So but what is an operating system? So then we will go through our what is a today's session about. Okay. So why we use an operating system? Why we use Windows? Well, let's discuss this about Windows. We'll come into Linux because you need to understand what is OS, right? So what you do on Windows every time when you log in? So basically operating systems, right? It is like interface between a hardware and a human. Okay. So it's like one second, guys. Can you see my screen now? Can you all see my screen?
Yes.
Yes, sir.
Great. See, this is a computer, let's assume, right? And we are a human beings here. And to do something with this system, right? What we do? We give instructions. We use some hardware, right? Keyboard, mouse, or any other things. But how does it know that user wants to do something, right? So that's where the operating system comes into picture. So it will give us the environment to interact and it will also process it and give us the results back. That is the main role of operating system. Okay. But apart from that, this is something that we needed, but how it manages entire system, right? This is all a computer. Okay. So how it manages? So basically there are few things that operating system is involved. Okay. So mainly right, the first thing is user management. Okay. And then file systems, memory management, input output, network. Okay. So again, so what are all this and what are we mostly interested for our course for data engineering, right? So mainly our focus is on the file system management because whenever we wanted to read some data or do something on the data, so we need to read the data from the disk. Where is the disk and how it is aligned with the system, right? So on the disk, so we create this file system. But when you install the software automatically, so that installation will keep track of this file system and everything. It will create everything. Okay. So the file system management and the memory and input output. So memory nothing but the RAM. So when there are tasks that are running, how it manages. Okay, so how manages nothing but see if there is a task that is running and that is another task that come into the queue. Okay, and whichever the task one maybe that's running already, right? It might be finished and there is some data that left on the memory which is not used anymore because the task one already completed. So how to free that so that other processes that are coming into the system, right? They will use it. So it's like a garbage collection. So it will manage that. So it will clean up whenever the task is completed, or it will allocate some extra memory to the tasks that are needed. So that's what this memory management. Okay. And again, apart from this, this is something like task management. So any operating system that you take, these are the main roles that an operating system will maintain. So input output. So so there are many things like keyboard, mouse, any other like printer or console also an output. So it's like many. Okay. And then network, this is something comes into picture like when the systems are connected in a LAN or if you are in a data center, all the systems are connected basically. Okay. And they will share the data across the nodes. So these are all coming to picture when I say operating system. But there are many things that comes into picture when we talk about operating system, but these are high level things. So if you are in a IT guy, so you must know there is a separate subject for operating system. So we cannot discuss everything here. We are limited to our subject area, right? Again, so we are mainly interested on these things, file systems. Okay. So let me come into this one. I think so. Hope you understood what is Linux and why we are talking Linux here. Two things, what and why. If you understand those two things, right, we'll proceed to the next class.
Yes, right.
Right? I mean, you'll be able to answer what is Linux and why we use it. You need to self-question yourself if you are understood or not. So otherwise, I'll really explain it. Okay. But these are very basic things. It's okay. Sometimes maybe you can read later or you can listen to this class again. We'll proceed now. So in this topic, right? So when I talk about Linux, we will be discussing all these things. We just discussed introduction to operating system and what is it and how we use it, right? And then we will talk about the topics that I'm showing in the screen. So Unix file system, and then we'll discuss file management. See, under file management, we'll discuss how to create folders and directories, how to create files. And there are some other commands or tools that we use, the file management. And then we have file permissions. File permissions is like a important concept because this will restrict other users to access the data that you created or your group created or your team created. And a few other day-to-day commands that we use in our daily software engineering things. Okay. And then we'll discuss VI editor. So this is like a notepad, but this works with the Linux system. When I'm talking about Linux, we are talking about Linux server, not the desktop. If I talk about a Linux desktop, it's similarly like Windows. It will be having a GUI and you can interact and you can do mouse operations with the mouse, right? The example is like CentOS or Fedora or Ubuntu. So these are the famous things in the Linux distributions. Okay. and then IO redirection, so input output redirections. So what is it means? I'll explain you this when we come into this topic. And the last thing, basic shell scripting. So the shell scripting is needed. See, though everyone is migrating everything into cloud, but underlying systems will be in a Linux. When you store data, so it might be Amazon S3 or ADLS in Azure or something in Google, right? GCP. But underlying, right, the data is stored in a Linux systems only. And on top of them, they created their own tools. So if I want to copy something from one bucket to other bucket in S3, right, we similarly use S3 copy, the CP command. That is where that comes from. Again, it's from Linux. Copy, remove everything. Everything is from Linux. They inherited the concepts and they build their own tools. So that is the reason we are discussing this Linux. So if you are familiar with the Linux commands, it will be easy for you to deal with S3 buckets or Hadoop file system, right? Those things. You're clear, right? What are the topics that we're going to create and discuss?
Yes, sir.
All right. So now, so we just discussed what is operating system, right? So operating system, nothing but, so it's an interaction that we do with a hardware. Hardware, nothing but it's a computer. So again, so what is the main aspects that OS will do? So it's like it manage files, process, memory, input, output, hardware things. This one we already discussed. And at a high level, right? So you can see this diagram. So it will tell us how it works, right? So we deal, I mean, so if I am talking to you and you are somewhere and listening to this, how it happens. So I'm using this Teams, that is an application that is handled by operating system. And in there is a hardware which connects to the internet, the NIC network interface, right? And that transfer the data and you will be listening at your side. So it's a simple process that operating system is doing now. You can understand that way, right? Right. And next, so now, so the file management. Okay, so what are the different types of files that you see, right? It's a question. Anyone? What do you see when you, I mean, you must be having this C drive, D drive, or some other drives in your systems. You are using Windows. What do you see when you open them? So folders, files, or whatever that you stored. Am I right? So similarly, so when I talk about file management, so it's the same. So folders and files. If you take any system, right, you'll be storing other, you group them together and you'll put them in a file. You classify it up. Maybe it's tutorials or ebooks or any some movies or a songs. That way you classify and you put all the files related into that, right? So similarly in file management, so in Linux, right, everything is a file. Okay, it will treat this as any file is a regular file, and we organize them in a folders. Okay, and that's how it manages in Linux. Folders are files, and the folders also called as directories in Linux. Okay, are you following me? Guys, there.
Yes, sir.
See, I think we have these many, but no one is talking about. So I call out Monica, Rishi Reddy, and Sidhu. So are you there?
Yes, sir.
Yeah.
Yes, sir.
So it would be great if you can unmute yourself and answer when I'm asking, right? So if you have any
Yes,
questions,
sure.
come up with your questions, but don't be silent. All right. So let me open the Linux system now. So I'll share you this virtual box. So this very easy to install in your system. So this comes with all the setup that we needed for data engineering. So it comes with the Linux um, Hadoop installation and Spark installation as well. I'll upload this and maybe I'll share with our institute and you can take it from there. They'll upload in the drive and you can download it, but it has around close to 9 GB. You need to be connected to the strong Wi-Fi internet. All right. So I told you, so the file management, right? Mostly we'll be talking about folders or files, right? So again, you see what is a path? In the very first step, I mentioned paths. What is a path? What do you think is a path? All right. So path, nothing but it is an address to the file. So how do we mention the address basically? So let's say you are in Windows and you have some files in your system, and let's say your resume, and if you wanted to upload that into Naukri, how do you do that? So you log in into your Naukri and you go to your profile and you update profile, and then it will ask you for upload your updated resume. What you do? You just click on the browse button. It will pop up your window. And what you do there? You will go to the location where exactly your resume is available, right? That is a path. Maybe it's from C drive, and then your profile, maybe under profile, you have your resume dot something document or PDF, right? So that is a path. So exactly it is similar here in Linux as well. So if I say I want this file, so you are also expecting the location of the file. The location nothing but address. Address nothing but it's a path in Linux. Path, address, location. These three are interchangeable words when I talk about file location. Okay. Are you seeing my screen?
Yes, yes, sir.
Okay.
Okay.
Did you get what I'm saying on the path or address? What is a path?
Is address of file like where the file location we are looking.
Right. So maybe in other way, right? So you're going somewhere on a trip and you'll pre-plan it, right? I mean, where to go first and then to where to go next and how to reach my destination. Similarly, you identify if I need to go to railway station or airport, and then I'll directly go into the nearby railway station or nearby airport, and then I'll reach my destination. Similarly, so the path nothing but so clearly the location of the file that you're identifying. So this I installed everything on a Ubuntu system, but when you are working on a corporate, right, any company, when someone says Linux server, this is a blank screen that you get, nothing else, right? Maybe if you are working somewhere, you know it. Anyone currently working? Right. So maybe whatever the flavor of the Linux operating system, you'll always see this black screen and there is a prompt blinking there. Okay, this is how it looks in a corporate or when you start working on a project. So now, what do we do? Right, I'm talking about paths. First thing, when you logged in into any Linux system or when you open this terminal, you will be in your home directory. So if you have seen when I logged in, I use this user, right? Data ing. Am I right? You're seeing my screen. I logged in with this user. And by default, you will be in this folder. That means home directory. Home directory is always the user that you logged in. Right? Now, this is a path for my home directory. Okay. So now if I say ls-l, so what do you see here and what are all these? Anyone can unmute and just tell me. What do you think about these?
These are the files that
Folders.
present folder. Folder.
Uh, how did you say they are folders? They are folders, correct, but how? Right? Okay, so first thing I'll explain these to all. PWD nothing but present working directory. So why do we use this? Because do you see anything here? What is the current location and everything? No, right? But this can be seen here. See, I am in desktop. But this is not the case every time when you work with. That depends on the operating system and the settings of this shell that we are using, right? So to understand now, if I hit present working directory, it will give me this one because I moved from my home directory to the next one, that is desktop. All right. Now again, so I'll explain all this. What is a path now? So let's say if there is a file, I'll do one thing. I'll create one simple file. So I'm going back to my home directory. So how do I go? Just that's it. When you just hit cd nothing but change directory. So what is a directory? It's nothing but a folder. So change folder. So change folder to where? So if you don't give any parameter, that will directly come into your home directory. Home directory always indicated with tilde symbol. This one, I mean, in the keyboard, you will see a keystroke left side to your number pad, right? It's a 1, 2, 3, 4. Maybe just above the tab, the very first key in that line. This is called tilde symbol, right? So what we are talking about now, the paths, right? So where I'm currently in my home location. This is my present working directory. That is my home directory as well. Are you able to follow me or it's confusing for you? If it is confusing, I'll do this in a different way. Guys, if you don't understand, right, waste of time. So speak out. Okay, fine. So I hope you are good with this. And now, so again, so I'm in my current working directory, that is my home directory, and the file is available on. So where did we create this file? The sample.txt in documents. Am I right?
Yes, yes.
Right. Now, how to access this file now? So that's where this path comes into picture. So if I wanted to see this file from my current directory, where I am exactly here, home and data engineer, right? But the file is in documents, right? So now, what is the path for this? I mean, where do I find? So this will be here, right? So this is a shortcut. If you type something, if there is any folder that has this name, right? You press just tab, it will give you the prompts. What are the different folder names that matches with your input, right? So if I say doc, right, there is only one folder name that starts with a doc. If I press tab, it will give you the prompt. Okay. So now here is a sample, right? Here is a file. So for this file, this is a path. Understood? Here. I'm not able to understand whether you are getting it or not. Okay. Come on, speak out.
Yes, sir.
Did you had your breakfast or not? Huh? Others, I mean, just four people here and you're not talking. Be vocal and unmute and talk. Okay. See, if you don't speak right, I don't know whether you're getting it or not, right? So maybe this will be the problem in the future, because every time when you start reading a file using Spark, and you'll be using a path, right? What is a path? So the location to the file. How do you find it? So it will be having the number of directories connected with. So here, this documents is a directory or a folder. Basically, when it comes to Linux operating system, we'd call them as a document in directory. But it's okay, you can call it as a folder. That doesn't make any problem. But that's a terminology. All right. Now again, when I was showing you this, so paths are again two types: absolute path and a relative path. What are they actually? The both. So I'll ask you a question now. I'll ask this question to you. I'll pick a name from here. So Monica, here is a question for you. Unmute yourself.
Yes, sir.
Now, the question is, so maybe one of your friend wants to come to your home, okay? Or maybe someone who lives in the same village or city, but maybe in the next street, okay? But she wants to reach to one of your friends' home, maybe nearby you, okay? So maybe she is in Tirupati and you're in Hyderabad, and you need to tell her so how to reach. How do you say that? Did you get my question?
Can you say again, sir?
Okay. You have a friend in Tirupati and you are in Hyderabad, and you have a friend in the next street, and she is a common friend for both of you, and both of you nothing but the friend who stays in Tirupati and you. Okay. And she wants to visit your friend, I mean your common friend, that she lives next to your street. Okay. You understand this?
Yes, sir.
Yeah. Now your friend from Tirupati wants to visit your friend in your next street. So how do you say her? So to reach her location, your friend's location in the next street.
Mm. By sending location.
Sending location, and then that is one thing. Yeah, you are using the technology. The other way, there are two ways actually. I mean, including this location, you may say just send the location of your home, right? And then you'll take your friend to, you both may go to your friend. One option, right? The next option is if your friend already know where you stay, right, in Hyderabad, you can ask her to come to you and you both can visit your friend, right? And the other is, so you'll just say, so maybe you may tell your friend, if you have your friend location handy, you just share it. So directly. So your friend will reach your friend directly. Three options, right? So here, two things. One is you are sharing the location from the source where she is living and the target where your friend lives, right? It's a direct location. So in Linux, that is called absolute path. Okay. So now relative path. What is
Okay.
a relative path? Relative path, nothing but your friend will come to you, and now you already know where your friend stays, and you will take your friend to there, right? The difference is when I say absolute path, it always starts with a root. But when I say relative path, it always starts with our present working directory. That's why I told, right? Absolute nothing but, so your friend starts from her location where she stays, right? Tirupati to Hyderabad. And now relative path, if your friend already with you, you just take her to that your friend's home. Two ways, right? So this is a basic difference, basically. You're clear?
Yes, sir. Got it.
Others? This concept is
Yes, sir.
important to understand. If you don't understand, raise this question. I'll explain it in a different way. But don't be silent. Don't go your home with the questions. If any questions, you need to ask and let it clarified. Right. We will discuss with a clear example now between those two things. Think you all know Telugu, right? Everyone.
Yeah.
Yes, sir.
Great, great. If you don't understand, I am also Telugu. I'll talk in Telugu. Okay. If you're not good with English, or if you don't understand something when I'm talking English, that's okay. You can unmute yourself and tell me so I can explain in Telugu as well. Not a problem. Right. So I'm clear. Now I'm saying this. This is my present working directory or current working directory. Right. Now, what is this? I'll explain this now. See, I told you the route to the target. What is the route here? See, this is a route. The slash. it is sits at the very top, okay, and it will be having all file system related things, right? So see, this slash nothing but a root directory, nothing but forward slash. You just remember it. And when I say absolute path, see, this is absolute path. What I'm saying, from home, I mean this root, I need to go to home and then data ing. Then I have my file with the documents, then sample. For sample.txt, this is the absolute path. So why it is absolute path? Because it starts with a root directory. This is a root directory. Root directory doesn't have a name, okay? Root directory nothing but the forward slash in Linux or any Linux based operating systems. Got it? For this sample.txt, it is the one that highlighted. This is a absolute path. Okay, I'll tell you the difference. See, I'm able to access it. It came. Now, I'll go back to. You can also use this to go back to your home directory. Okay, now we are in home directory where I am. Home data engineering. Now, what is a relative path? So this is a relative path, right? Now also I can access this file, right? Again, what is the difference? And which one is preferred to use every time, right? Is that your question or? All right. See, if you are not speaking right, I don't know whether you are able to understand or not. Just talk about it. Otherwise, just keep on covering the topics. So I don't have any problem in that. Okay. So now, so the difference is here when I say this ls documents sample.txt, I am doing it from my home directory. So I don't need to use the root, I mean, from the root to the path because I already know where the document sits and I'm able to access it because from your current directory, you can access it. But again, so can I access this file using absolute path? Yes. Wherever or whatever your current working directory or present working directory, you can always access a file using the absolute path. See, right? It came. Yeah. But if you are in some other directory, right? So I'll do one thing. I'll go to desktop, and if I use documents and sample.txt, see, no such file or directory. So relative path, it's always you need to be careful if that file is accessible from your current working directory or not. Then only you can able to access. But absolute path, so wherever you are, you can able to access it. Again, I'll try here. Right, I'm able to access, right? And if I want to see the file content, it's there. So this is a basic difference for absolute path and relative path. So now, so far, what are the commands that we discussed? So we discussed pwd and we discussed cd. cd nothing but change directory. That way, right? Change directory nothing but changing the folder from one folder to other folder. Again, when we change the directories, we also use this absolute path or relative path, right? Yeah, you're talking. Any question?
No, sir.
All right. So again, so discussed pwd, discussed cd nothing but change directory. And if you see, there is a common thing in all the commands, right? What is it? all the commands are case sensitive and they should be always in a lowercase. If I use, right, command not found, if I use uppercase, it won't work. ls don't work, right? If I use it, there are no files, it doesn't show anything. If I go back one level and do ls, it will show you all the folders or files within that current working directory, right? So remember to use all the commands in lower cases. Okay. Again, so we discussed this, but what is exactly, I mean, the generic command syntax? So any command, right? So it follows this. So all the commands like this, any the command here, okay, and we have parameters, okay? Then input, user input. So what is it? I'll tell you. I'll take an example of this command ls. See, there is something, let's say you are very first time doing this, and if you wanted to understand how this ls works, what it can do, right? If you wanted to know what are the parameters that ls can accept, right? It is very simple. So you can do, there is a command called man, is nothing but a help. If I say ls, man space ls, right? See, that is nothing but it will give you a detailed explanation about the command. So see, the synopsis is nothing but the syntax that uses ls option, nothing but parameters, and this input. Input nothing but for ls, what we do basically, it is to list contents in the directory, list files in the directory. Maybe if you already know in DOS, right? MS DOS, we use directory dir command to list all the folders or directories in that. Tell you an example, right? See, if I say directory, will give everything, right? So that way, so here we use this ls to list all the files in a folder. And again, see, there are, many options or parameters that we can use, but you can go through all of them, but we will discuss any important things for all the commands that are very much needed. We don't use all these parameters or options everywhere. Okay. Most of the times we use only few, nothing but very few. Right. And when you enter this command, and if you wanted to come back, just press Q. I'm saying Q. PQRS, right? Letter Q you need to press, it will come out. So it's saying, right? Q. Q to quit. Right, I'm pressing Q. Now, I am here and I am saying ls-l. See, there is a difference. If I just press L, there are no options that I'm passing. What it is doing by default, it will take present working directory as input and default as no options. No option, nothing but it will just simply list what are the file names or folder names in the directory, right? And again, when I hit ls-l, this is a long list that it can give, right? Now, what is this output? Question, right? What is this output that is given? So basically, everything has its own meaning. Okay, we will discuss after some time, but I will finish this. What is -l? And there are other commands that we use. This is my present working directory. Do you see any other files here except from these directories? No, right? Now you see See, so far you don't see anything. There are some other files that is coming into picture now. When I say AL, so A nothing but it will show you all the hidden files. Any file that starts with a dot, right? That is a hidden file. That means it's a hidden file. Okay. Now you see these are all hidden files, right? And here this profile and SSH, wherever you see there is a dot starting file starting with a dot, that is a hidden file. So A is used to show all the hidden files in that directory, given directory. But again, if I wanted to see the contents in some other folder, right, I can use this. So far we are talking about this, right? We can also use this way. See? So ls, and these are the options and the location of the folder you wanted to see the files. So if you wanted to see files available in some other location, we just give it ls-l, then followed by the location. So it will list everything. All right. Now we understand what is this. See, you understand. So the structure here, the very first letter, this is D and this is nothing, just a hyphen, right? What is it? So basically, this has something to do. Let's go back to my presentation now. See, in this, right, we'll be talking about all this. Okay. I was telling you all the commands are case sensitive and they should be in a lower case. And I recommend you to use file names or directory names in lowercase. It's not mandatory, but it is recommended. And we just discussed PWD and the CD. CD is nothing but changing folder from one folder to other folder, right? PWD is nothing but present working directory or current working directory. And we will also discuss MKDIR or MDIR maybe in the upcoming classes, but we'll go step by step, right? And now, so this one. So when I hit ls-l, right, you see this output similar to this, not exactly this, but similar to this. Am I right?
Yes.
Here it is, right? Similar to this. Now, what are all this? So right, there are different sections within that. The first thing is permission modes, and just these are just links, but you don't worry about this. Okay, these are maintained by the inode. Basically, that is some part of a file system, but it's okay. Just leave it links. And owner and group. Owner nothing but who created that file, or even though someone created, if you have access to change the mode, you can change the owner of this file. But whatever that displays there, third person or that name is the owner of this file. He has all the access. And the group, basically in any company or any organization, all the users are part of at least one group, right? So the corresponding group will be displayed here. And this is size in bytes. I mean, the size nothing but the file size. Is file size. And then date, I mean, when it is modified, then the file name. Again, this is right. The D nothing but directory. If there is no letter present, if you only see a dash, nothing but it's a regular file. See, in some cases, you will also see L. L nothing but it is a shortcut file. That is a link, soft link. Clear? We will discuss the below ones maybe when we comes to the file permissions. How do we give permission? But for now, see, this is a content we displayed when we use option L with the ls command. Clear?
Yes, sir.
Great. Now, so we learned present working directory and what is absolute path, what is the relative path, and what is a ls command, how to use it. And again, ls command, so most regularly we use other two options as well, that is ls hyphen. We learned what is L and T. So what is the difference that you see? I'll discuss now. And what is the difference that you see now? See, T nothing but the output will be sorted based on time. See, if you just use LT, the last recent modified will come on the top. See, we added one file in the documents sometime back. So it is coming on the top, right? And when I used ls-lrt, now the documents is at the last because the reverse sorting order of the time. Old to the new. This is new to the old. That is the difference. So ls-lrt is a very famous command everyone use. Okay. Again, one more question. You might get a question. So what if I wanted to see all the file names that starts with a letter, right? So now we can also use that. Just start with a D. I wanted to see everything. Use star. See, because it is a directory, you will be seeing every content of the folder, the desktop, documents, download, right? Let's say I am creating see if I say ls-l and s star list everything starting with s. So you can also use wildcards with these commands, not only with this, any Linux command that supports this. If it is allowed. I mean, if it is allowed, nothing but see, in some cases, it's using this wildcard or the star symbols doesn't make any sense. In that case, you don't use this. I'm talking about that cases, right? So this is all about ls command. But if you want to learn more, you can explore with a man command. But this is enough, basically. If you wanted to know if there is a file or something in the file, you just do go ls-l and give the directory name or the file name, it will give you the details. But later upon, so if I wanted to see the contents and everything, that is simple. We just use cat. Cat is a simple tool that helps to display the contents of the file. See, we created a file sometime back in the documents, right? I'll go to documents. Okay. And now I say cat, this one. Now you see the file has hello in that. Right? That's how it uses the cat. And again, we are using this cd command to move from one directory to the other directory. But how to go back? See, if I use cd space dash, it will go back to the last recent directory. Okay, so I was in my home directory. and then I move to documents. Now, if I say cd hyphen again, it will come back to the documents because the last working directory is documents there, right? That is the thing, cd. Now we are here. Is there a shortcut way that I can go back to data eng, right? So one way we seen is cd hyphen. We'll directly go back to that because previously I was working with this directory, right? Now I am in this EWD, but I wanted to go back one level up, right? I mean one level up or down, right? You can use cd space dot dot. See, now we are into this. What happened now? We go back one level. We were in home, then data eng. When I hit cd space dot dot, it will go back to one level. That means it will go to the home. Again, if I use cd hyphen, so what would be the next directory that will be going to? Can anyone answer? Come on. Sidhu, so tell me the answer. Simple thing. When I use cd space hyphen, see, I am in my present working directory, right? So I wanted to go to some other directory, right? I'm here now. Okay. What is my directory? OPT Hadoop. Now I wanted to go back to the previous working directory. I wanted to go back to my home, right? Home location. I can simply use the cd command and it will take me back to the directory. So it's that simple. When you change a directory and if you wanted to go back to the same directory again, you can just use cd hyphen. That's it. Okay. But again, so if I wanted to go back one level back, so let's say I'm in home data eng, right? And let's say I'm going to document. Now we are here. Is there any other way I can go to home, right? So I can use this actually cd space dot dot one directory back. Again, if I use cd space dot dot, I'll be in a home now, right? So when you use cd command, so very few cases here, cd space the folder name, or you can give a path there and you'll be going to that folder. The second thing, when you change the directory and if you wanted to go back to the directory, the last recent, okay, let's say I am here. Okay, previously I was in the last recent is this one, documents. So if I hit cd hyphen, it will take me back to the documents, not this one, not my home directory or not this Hadoop. Got it? That's how the cd hyphen works. If you go back to the last recent immediate directory that you worked, just hit cd hyphen, it will take you back there. And if I am here, if I wanted to go back to data eng, there are two ways, right? It is my home directory. You can use just cd, it will take me back to my home directory. The other way is you can also use cd dot dot, it will take me one level back. One level back, we are here. Okay. This is all about changing directories, right? Any questions? Come on, guys, you're not talking or you're not saying whether you understood or not.
No questions.
Right. So now we'll talk one more concept and we'll close the class. So we discussed ls command, pwd, cd, right? And now the question, how to create a folder? How do you do that in Windows? You just go and right click and create new and create the folder. But here we don't have that option. If I right click, right, it doesn't show anything like that. Nothing, right? But in this one, we use this command make directory mkdir followed by the directory names. See, directory names will only have alphabets, numbers, underscore. That's it. If you use anything, that will make you a big problem when you use it or when you wanted to use that in your programs. That I'll tell you when the topic comes. But I recommend you to use only alphanumeric underscore. That's it. Clear. Now, so how to create the folders? So we can create using mkdir. That is a command that we use to create folders in Linux. Now I'll use folder 1, 2. See, this can be like any number of folders that you can give with a space between each folder that name. Now if I hit enter, so you'll see there are 2 folders created, folder 1 and folder 2, just now, right? But now I wanted to create this folder now. Folder 1 and folder fold and sample directory. Now, what is it saying? Cannot create directory. Folder 1 fold sample, no such file or directory. What are we trying and what it is saying? That it is saying no such file or directory because what I'm trying to do with this command. So with this command, what I'm trying to do is in folder 1, I wanted to create one more folder that is fold. And within that fold, I want to create sample folder again. But do we have this fold in folder 1? There is nothing. That is the reason it is saying that error. So it's not able to find this fold, right? And it is not able to create the sample directory. Is the reason we see this error. So maybe it may misleading you, but that is the reason you see this error. But what you will do to avoid this kind of situations? So there is an option called -p. I'll tell you what it is. Right now, did not give us any error. Instead, it is created all the files. In folder 1, see, in folder 1, you have fold, and within fold, you have sample, right? It created it. In sample, do we have anything? Nothing. We didn't create any file or folder in this one. But what is the meaning of this P, right? So when you fall in this situation, right? If you wanted to create a folder or folder structure, irrespective of if there is a intermediate folder exist or not, you wanted to create, you can use this -p. What it will do, right? If there is any missing path or folder, it will create and make sure it will create all the path. If you don't use this -p, you see, right? So it is saying this fold does not exist. But if you use -p, what will do? The fold does not exist, it will create and it will go and create the sample. And if I say any other folder, right? Fold, then I create any other, right? It will keep on creating all the required folder, then it will create the target. That is the difference. mkdir and mkdir with -p. Simple. If you wanted to create a simple folder, use mkdir. We can use with any path as well. But if path does not exist, you can go with the option -p. -p nothing but it will create, irrespective of whether the folder with exist or not, it will create entire path. That is the only difference. Yeah. So this is all for today. So we discussed very few and basic commands, like we discussed pwd, and we discussed cd command, and we discussed ls command. Okay, and mkdir we discussed. See, mkdir, if there is no option, it will give us an error. And we also discussed man, right? So let's say what are the options that mkdir that supports, right? So these are the options that it can support. So basically, so we discussed quite few commands. We will discuss further on this, okay, from tomorrow. Guys, any questions on this session today, on this Linux? And the important topic like paths and absolute path, relative path as well we discussed. That is important as well. So overall, so I'll come back to so what is that we discussed today? Can anyone tell you? Can someone tell me? What is
Yeah.
Linux?
What is that?
Right? What it does? Basically, what we discussed is what is operating system. Then what is Linux and file system. So what is file system? And we discussed paths and then commands. pwd, cd, kdir, man, ls. We also discussed cat. Cat, why we use this cat command? Come on, guys. Okay, two things. I think file system, it's very simple. You're not answering that. File system, but it's the way we organize files in our system. So basically, file system manages the storage part. It is organized into folders and files. That's it. Very simple. But when it comes to operating system managing the file system, it involves with the access and permissions as well. And the cat command, we use it to display the contents of the file. Right? Yeah, come on. So are you clear on these topics that we discussed? So
Yes,
I'll
sir.
stop for a minute for any questions. See, tomorrow we will discuss how to create a file, manage file permissions, and then we discuss some important commands like Linux commands. If time permits, we'll also discuss something else. But this is the main agenda for tomorrow. So make sure you're there. If you don't understand how to create a file, so it will be very hard for you to understand the next classes when we talk about Spark and Hadoop. See, we started with the very basics now. These are very strong foundational things for the data engineering. All right. So if there are no questions, right, we can close the class for today. Anyone? Any questions?
No, sir.